Lieutenant Sarah Chun adjusted her glasses and stared at the computer screen filled with intercepted communications. The small office at Forward Operating Base Martinez buzzed with the quiet hum of electronics and the occasional crackle of radio chatter. She had been assigned here 3 months ago as an intelligence analyst, a role that kept her safely behind a desk while others faced the dangers of combat operations. The other soldiers barely noticed her. To them, she was just another desk officer who processed data and wrote reports. Sarah preferred it that way. She had learned long ago that being underestimated could be an advantage. While her male colleagues discussed weapons and tactics, she quietly absorbed every detail, every piece of information that crossed her desk. Captain Rodriguez, the base intelligence chief, walked over to her workstation. Chun, we've got new intercepts from Sector 7. The locals are reporting increased enemy movement near the mountain passes. I need you to analyze the patterns and give me a threat assessment by tomorrow morning. Sarah nodded without looking up from her screen. Yes, sir. I'm already seeing some concerning patterns in the communication frequencies. The enemy seems to be coordinating something significant. Rodriguez paused, impressed by her quick analysis. Sarah had a reputation for being thorough and accurate, though he sometimes wondered if she was too cautious for field work. Her personnel file showed she had completed basic training with average scores in combat exercises, nothing particularly outstanding. What stood out was her analytical mind and attention to detail. Good work. Make sure you include recommendations for patrol routes. Colonel Martinez wants to increase our presence in that area, Rodriguez said before walking away. Sarah continued her analysis late into the evening. The intercepted messages painted a picture of a coordinated enemy operation. They were planning something big, and the mountain passes were key to their strategy. She cross-referenced the intelligence with satellite imagery and previous patrol reports, building a comprehensive picture of enemy movements. As she worked, memories of her childhood drifted through her mind. Growing up on a ranch in Montana, she had learned to shoot from her grandfather, a veteran of 3 wars. He had taught her patience, precision, and the importance of understanding your environment. Those skills had followed her through military training, though she had deliberately downplayed her marksmanship abilities. The next morning, Sarah presented her findings to Colonel Martinez and his staff. The briefing room was filled with seasoned combat officers who listened respectfully, but saw her as support personnel rather than a tactical asset. The enemy is establishing observation posts along these ridgelines, Sarah explained, pointing to the map. They're positioning themselves to monitor our supply convoys and coordinate ambushes. The communication patterns suggest they have at least 3 teams of snipers moving into overwatch positions. Colonel Martinez studied the map carefully. This is solid intelligence, Lieutenant. How confident are you in these assessments? Very confident, sir. The signal intercepts correlate with movement patterns we've observed over the past 2 weeks. They're definitely planning something within the next 72 hours. Major Thompson, the operations officer, leaned forward. If you're right about the sniper teams, we need to adjust our patrol schedules. Those mountain passes are essential for our resupply operations. Sarah had anticipated this response. Sir, I recommend we establish our own counter-sniper positions. The terrain analysis shows several locations where our shooters could effectively neutralize their overwatch positions. The room fell silent for a moment. It was unusual for an intelligence officer to make tactical recommendations, especially regarding sniper operations. Colonel Martinez raised an eyebrow. Do you have experience with counter-sniper tactics, Lieutenant? Sarah chose her words carefully. I've studied the tactical applications extensively, sir. The terrain and sight lines are clearly defined in the imagery. What she didn't mention was the hundreds of hours she had spent on shooting ranges, the advanced marksmanship courses she had taken on her own time, or the fact that she could consistently hit targets at distances that would impress even seasoned snipers. Her grandfather's training had been thorough, and she had continued to develop those skills throughout her military career. Major Thompson looked skeptical. Studying something and implementing it in the field are 2 different things, Lieutenant. We'll need to bring in specialists from the sniper teams at the main base. That could take 48 hours, sir, Sarah replied. The intelligence suggests they'll be in position by tomorrow evening. Colonel Martinez considered the options. The base's organic sniper team was currently deployed on another operation, and requesting support would indeed take time they might not have. What do you suggest, Lieutenant? Give me a team to reconnoiter the positions I've identified. If we can get eyes on their setup, we can develop an effective response strategy. It was a bold request from someone who had never been on a combat patrol, but Sarah's intelligence assessments had been consistently accurate. Colonel Martinez made his decision. Thompson, assign her a small reconnaissance team. Keep it light and fast. I want confirmation of these enemy positions. After the briefing, Sarah returned to her desk to prepare for her first field assignment. She pulled out her personal gear bag from her locker, checking equipment she had maintained but never expected to use in combat. Her rifle case contained a customized M24 sniper weapon system that she had purchased with her own money and qualified with during personal time. Sergeant Williams, the team leader assigned to her reconnaissance mission, approached her workstation. He was a veteran infantry soldier with multiple deployments and a healthy skepticism of support personnel joining field operations. Ma'am, we'll be moving out at 0400. The route will take us through some rough terrain. Are you sure you're up for this? Sarah looked up from her equipment check. I'll keep up, Sergeant. I need to see those positions firsthand to confirm the intelligence. Williams noticed her rifle case. Planning to do some shooting out there, Lieutenant? Just being prepared, Sergeant. My grandfather always said it's better to have it, and not need it than need it, and not have it. That evening, Sarah cleaned and inspected her rifle with the methodical precision her grandfather had taught her. Each component was checked and rechecked. She had made modifications to the weapon system over the years, improving its accuracy and reliability. The scope was a high-end model that she had saved months to purchase, calibrated to her specific shooting style. Her teammates prepared their gear in the adjacent bay, occasionally glancing over at her meticulous weapon maintenance. They had expected her to carry a standard-issue carbine, not a precision rifle system that looked like it belonged to a specialized sniper. Corporal Davis, the team's designated marksman, walked over to examine her weapon. That's a nice setup, ma'am. Where did you learn to work on these systems? My grandfather was a sniper in Vietnam, Sarah replied, continuing her inspection. He taught me that taking care of your equipment is the difference between success and failure. Davis nodded approvingly. Smart man. Mind if I ask what your range time looks like? Sarah hesitated for a moment. I qualify regularly. Haven't had much opportunity for long-range work lately. It was a significant understatement. Sarah regularly shot at distances exceeding 800 meters and had achieved groupings that would qualify her for advanced sniper schools. But she had learned to keep her capabilities private, avoiding the attention that exceptional scores might bring. Private Johnson, the youngest member of the team, looked nervous about his first reconnaissance mission with an intelligence officer. Ma'am, what exactly are we looking for out there? Sarah spread out the topographical map and satellite imagery. The intercepts indicate enemy spotters are positioning themselves along these ridge lines to observe our convoy routes. We need to identify their exact locations and assess their capabilities. If they have sniper teams in overwatch positions, our supply lines could be compromised. Sergeant Williams studied the map carefully. The terrain is challenging. Lots of rock formations and limited cover. If there are enemy snipers up there, they'll have significant advantages. That's why we need to be smart about our approach, Sarah replied. The key is understanding their sight lines and positioning ourselves where we can observe without being detected. As the team made final preparations, Sarah reflected on the path that had brought her to this moment. She had joined the military to serve her country, but had been channeled into intelligence work based on her analytical skills and academic background. The assumption was that she was better suited for desk work than combat operations. Tomorrow would be different. For the first time, she would have the opportunity to use all of her skills in a real operational environment. The intelligence analysis was just the beginning. If her assessment was correct, they would face experienced enemy snipers in terrain that favored long-range engagements. Sarah completed her equipment check and secured her gear. Her rifle case was locked and ready for transport. Inside was a weapon system that represented years of training and preparation that her colleagues knew nothing about. Tomorrow, she would discover whether her grandfather's lessons and her own dedication would be enough when facing real combat situations. The base grew quiet as soldiers settled in for a few hours of rest before the early morning departure. Sarah lay on her bunk, reviewing the mission parameters and visualizing the terrain they would encounter. The satellite imagery showed rocky outcroppings and narrow valleys that would provide excellent concealment for enemy observation posts. She thought about her grandfather's stories of Vietnam, the patience required for effective reconnaissance, and the split-second decisions that could determine mission success or failure. He had always emphasized that the best snipers were made by combining natural ability with relentless training and the wisdom to know when to take the shot. Sarah had spent her entire military career preparing for this type of situation, even though she had never expected to face it. Her intelligence work had given her deep understanding of enemy tactics and terrain analysis, while her personal training had developed the marksmanship skills that might prove essential in the coming mission. The alarm clock was set for 03:30, giving her just enough time to prepare before the team departed. As she closed her eyes, Sarah realized that tomorrow would be the first real test of whether she could transition from intelligence analyst to combat effective soldier. The enemy snipers in the mountains would not care about her rank or background. They would only respond to superior skill and tactical intelligence. In a few hours, Lieutenant Sarah Chun would begin discovering capabilities she had kept hidden throughout her military career. The quiet intelligence officer who preferred to work behind a computer screen was about to face a situation that would require every skill her grandfather had taught her, and every lesson she had learned from analyzing enemy tactics. The reconnaissance mission would reveal more than just enemy positions. It would be the beginning of Sarah's transformation from underestimated support personnel to a soldier whose true abilities would surprise everyone, including herself. The mountain passes held enemy snipers who had no idea they were about to face someone whose skills far exceeded what her personnel file suggested. Tomorrow, the real test would begin. #Intelligence Officer Story. Part 2. The alarm buzzed at 3:30 in the morning, cutting through the pre-dawn silence of the base. Sarah was already awake, having spent the last hour reviewing the mission route and weather conditions. She moved quietly through her morning routine, checking her equipment one final time before joining her team at the vehicle depot. Sergeant Williams was conducting a final briefing with a four-man reconnaissance team when Sarah arrived. The desert air was still cool, but the temperature would climb rapidly once the sun rose. She carried her rifle case and a light pack containing essential gear for the day-long mission. "All right, people, listen up," Williams began, spreading the map on the hood of their vehicle. "We'll be moving through hostile territory to reach observation positions overlooking the suspected enemy locations. Lieutenant Chun will be directing our reconnaissance priorities based on her intelligence analysis." Corporal Davis loaded ammunition and water into the vehicle, while Private Johnson conducted a communications check with base operations. The team moved with the practiced efficiency of experienced soldiers, but Sarah noticed the subtle glances and careful politeness that indicated their uncertainty about operating with an intelligence officer. The drive to the insertion point took 40 minutes along winding mountain roads that became progressively rougher as they climbed toward the target area. Sarah studied the terrain through night vision equipment, comparing the actual landscape with her satellite imagery analysis. The correlation was excellent, confirming her tactical assessment of enemy positioning. There, she pointed to a rocky outcropping visible in the distance. According to the intercepts, they should have an observation post on that ridge. The sight lines give them perfect coverage of our main supply route. Williams brought the vehicle to a stop at a concealed position 3 kilometers from their objective. The team would continue on foot, using natural cover to approach the suspected enemy positions without detection. Sarah secured her rifle and fell in with the patrol formation as they began the difficult climb through broken terrain. The first 2 hours passed without incident. Williams led the team along goat trails and rocky ravines that provided concealment from observation posts on the higher elevations. Sarah matched their pace easily, her ranch background having given her comfort with rough country and steep climbs that surprised her teammates. "Hold up," Davis whispered, raising his hand to signal a halt. Through his binoculars, he had spotted movement on a distant ridge. "I've got something." 2 o'clock, about 600 meters. Sarah extended her own spotting scope and studied the location Davis had indicated. After several minutes of patient observation, she identified what had caught his attention. "Confirmed. I can see at least 2 individuals in a prepared position. They have equipment that looks like long-range optical devices." Williams crawled forward to get his own view of the target area. "Can you determine if they're armed?" Sarah adjusted her scope's magnification and studied the enemy position more carefully. Her grandfather's training had emphasized the importance of patient observation and accurate target identification. After several minutes, she could make out additional details. "Definitely armed. I can see at least 1 rifle with what appears to be a high-powered scope. They're positioned to observe our convoy routes, and the setup suggests they've been there for more than just a few hours." The team established a concealed observation post and began detailed surveillance of the enemy position. Sarah documented everything she observed, creating sketches and taking photographs that would support the intelligence assessment. Her teammates were impressed by her methodical approach and attention to tactical details. Private Johnson monitored radio frequencies while the others maintained visual surveillance. After an hour of observation, he detected communication traffic that confirmed Sarah's analysis. "Ma'am, I'm picking up radio chatter that matches the frequencies from your intercepts. They're definitely coordinating with other positions." Sarah felt a surge of satisfaction that her intelligence work was proving accurate in the field. But the confirmation also meant the threat was real and immediate. Enemy snipers were positioned to interdict critical supply operations, and additional teams were likely in place at other locations. "We need to identify the other positions," Sarah told Williams. The intercepts suggested at least 3 teams. "If we can locate them all, we can develop a comprehensive response." Williams consulted his map and compared it with Sarah's intelligence analysis. "The next suspected position is about 2 kilometers north, but getting there will expose us to observation from the team we just identified." Sarah studied the terrain carefully, looking for a route that would provide concealment while allowing them to reach the second target area. Her analysis of the satellite imagery had identified several possibilities, but the actual ground conditions would determine feasibility. "There's a ravine system that runs parallel to their line of sight," she pointed out. "If we follow it north, we should be able to stay below their observation capability while approaching the second position." The team moved out using Sarah's recommended route. The ravine provided excellent concealment, but made movement slow and difficult. They had to navigate around fallen rocks and thorny vegetation while maintaining noise discipline that would prevent detection by enemy observers. 2 hours later, they reached a position where they could observe the second suspected enemy location. Sarah immediately began scanning the area with her spotting scope, looking for signs of enemy activity. The terrain was more challenging here, with multiple possible positions that could serve as sniper hides. "Movement," Corporal Davis whispered. "I've got at least 1 individual moving between rock formations at about 400 meters. Sarah shifted her observation to the area Davis had indicated. Through her scope, she could see a figure in military clothing carefully positioning equipment between large boulders. The setup was more sophisticated than the first position, suggesting this might be a primary observation post. "This is their main position," Sarah concluded after several minutes of observation. "They have better concealment and multiple firing positions. The equipment looks more advanced, probably including laser rangefinders and communications gear." Williams was beginning to appreciate Sarah's tactical insight. Her intelligence background, combined with obvious familiarity with enemy tactics, was providing valuable battlefield assessment. "What's your recommendation, Lieutenant?" Sarah considered their options carefully. The enemy positions were well established and professionally constructed. A direct approach would be extremely dangerous, but they needed more detailed intelligence about enemy capabilities and intentions. "I need to get closer," Sarah said quietly. "From this distance, I can't determine their full capabilities or identify all personnel. Give me 30 minutes to conduct a detailed reconnaissance." Williams looked skeptical. "Ma'am, that's a lot of risk for an intelligence officer. Let Davis handle the close-in reconnaissance." Sarah had anticipated this response. Throughout her career, she had been protected from frontline operations because of assumptions about her capabilities and role. But this situation required skills that went beyond standard infantry tactics. "Sergeant, I need to see their setup personally to complete the intelligence assessment. I know what to look for, and I understand their tactical deployment better than anyone else on this team." After a brief discussion, Williams agreed to allow Sarah to conduct the reconnaissance with Davis, providing overwatch support. She left her pack and most of her equipment behind, carrying only essential items and her sidearm as she began a careful approach toward the enemy position. The next 20 minutes required every skill her grandfather had taught her about fieldcraft and concealment. Sarah moved slowly through broken terrain, using natural cover and taking advantage of shadows to avoid detection. Her progress was measured in meters rather than distance, each movement carefully planned to minimize exposure. From a concealed position 50 meters from the enemy observers, Sarah could see details that confirmed her worst fears. The enemy team consisted of at least 4 individuals with sophisticated equipment, including night vision devices, communication systems, and precision rifles. They were not casual militants, but professional soldiers with advanced training. More concerning was the evidence of coordination with other positions. She observed radio communications and the use of hand signals that indicated they were part of a larger operation. The threat to base operations was more significant than initial intelligence had suggested. Sarah documented everything she observed, taking careful notes about personnel, equipment, and tactical procedures. The information would be essential for developing an effective response to the enemy threat. After completing her reconnaissance, she began the dangerous process of withdrawing without detection. The return journey to her team's position took another 20 minutes of careful movement. When she finally reached the observation post, Williams and the others were anxious to hear her assessment. Sarah's findings painted a picture of a sophisticated enemy operation that posed serious risks to base security. "They're professionals," Sarah reported, "well-trained, well-equipped, and operating as part of a coordinated plan. The threat level is higher than we initially assessed." Williams absorbed this information while considering their next move. The reconnaissance mission had confirmed enemy positions and revealed the scope of the threat, but they were still one team short of the 3 positions identified in the intelligence intercepts. "We need to locate the 3rd position," Sarah continued. The intercepts suggested it would be positioned to provide overlapping coverage of our supply routes. If they achieve that level of coordination, our convoy operations will be completely compromised. The team prepared to move toward the final target area, knowing that each enemy position they discovered increased the complexity of the threat they were facing. Sarah's intelligence analysis was proving accurate, but the enemy capabilities were exceeding their initial estimates. As they prepared to continue the mission, Sarah reflected on how much the day had already changed her perspective on field operations. The transition from desk-bound intelligence work to active reconnaissance had been surprisingly natural, drawing on skills and training she had developed over years of preparation. But the real challenges were still ahead. The 3rd enemy position would complete the picture of the threat facing their base, and Sarah was beginning to realize that conventional responses might not be adequate. The enemy's professional capabilities and tactical positioning suggested that innovative solutions would be required. Williams signaled for the team to move out toward their final objective. Sarah secured her equipment and fell in with the patrol formation, her mind already working on the tactical problems they would face once the reconnaissance was complete. The morning's discoveries had confirmed her intelligence analysis, but had also revealed a threat that would test every aspect of their defensive capabilities. The third enemy position awaited, and with it the completion of a picture that would demand more than just intelligence analysis to resolve. Hashtag Intelligence Officer Story. Part 3. The approach to the third suspected enemy position required a grueling climb through terrain that became increasingly difficult as they gained elevation. Sarah and her team had been moving for 6 hours, carefully avoiding detection while gathering intelligence on enemy positions. The physical demands were testing everyone's endurance, but Sarah maintained pace with the experienced infantry soldiers without complaint. Sergeant Williams called for a rest halt in a sheltered ravine that provided concealment from observation. The team was operating in hostile territory where enemy snipers held the high ground, making every movement potentially dangerous. Sarah used the break to review her notes and update her tactical assessment based on the morning's discoveries. "The pattern is becoming clear," she explained to Williams while studying the map. They positioned their teams to create overlapping fields of observation covering all our major supply routes. It's a textbook interdiction operation, professionally planned and executed. Williams wiped sweat from his face and considered their situation. The reconnaissance mission had revealed a more sophisticated threat than anyone had anticipated. "What are we looking at for the third position?" Sarah pointed to a ridge line that dominated the valley below. According to the intercepts and terrain analysis, it should be positioned somewhere along this elevation. The sight lines would give them observation coverage that complements the other 2 positions we've identified. Corporal Davis checked his ammunition and water supplies. The mission was taking longer than planned, and they were operating with limited resources in hostile territory. "Lieutenant, once we confirm the third position, how do we get this intelligence back to base without getting spotted by these sniper teams?" It was a good question that Sarah had been considering throughout the morning. Their return route would take them through terrain covered by enemy observation posts, and radio communications might be intercepted or used to locate their position. "We'll have to use the same concealment techniques that got us here," Sarah replied. "The key is understanding their coverage patterns and timing our movement to avoid detection." Private Johnson monitored radio frequencies while the others planned their approach to the final target area. The enemy communications traffic had increased throughout the morning, suggesting they were coordinating for some type of operation. "Ma'am, I'm picking up increased chatter on the frequencies you identified," Johnson reported. "It sounds like they're preparing for something." References to timing and coordination. Sarah felt a chill of recognition. The communication patterns matched intelligence indicators for imminent enemy action. Whatever the enemy was planning, it would likely happen soon. "Can you determine any specifics about timing?" Johnson listened carefully to the intercepted communications. "Negative on specific timing, but the urgency suggests it's happening today." Multiple references to final preparations and standby for execution. The situation had suddenly become much more critical. What had begun as a reconnaissance mission to confirm enemy positions was now a race to gather intelligence before the enemy launched their planned operation. Sarah realized they might be the only coalition forces in position to observe or interfere with enemy plans. Williams made the tactical decision to accelerate their timeline. "We moved to the third position immediately. If these guys are planning to hit our supply convoys, we need actionable intelligence as soon as possible." The team resumed movement with increased urgency, accepting higher risk levels to reach their objective quickly. Sarah led the navigation using her terrain analysis, guiding them through the most direct route while maintaining essential concealment from enemy observers. An hour later, they reached a position where they could observe the suspected third enemy location. Sarah immediately began scanning the area with her spotting scope, searching for signs of enemy activity. The terrain here was more open, offering fewer concealment options, but better fields of observation. "There," Davis whispered, indicating a cluster of rocks near the ridge crest. "I've got movement in that formation at about 300 meters. Sarah shifted her scope to the location Davis had identified. Through the magnified optics, she could see what appeared to be a well-concealed observation post with multiple personnel. The position offered commanding views of the valley below and the roads used for convoy operations. Confirmed enemy position, Sarah reported after several minutes of detailed observation. At least 3 individuals with advanced equipment. This completes the triangle of observation posts covering our supply routes. But as she continued her surveillance, Sarah noticed something that changed the entire tactical situation. The enemy team was not simply observing the valley below. They were preparing weapons systems and coordinating with the other positions for what appeared to be an imminent attack. "Sergeant, they're not just conducting surveillance," Sarah said urgently. "They're preparing for immediate action. I can see them setting up firing positions and coordinating with other teams." Williams crawled forward to get his own view of the enemy activity. What he observed confirmed Sarah's assessment. The enemy was transitioning from observation to attack preparation, and their target appeared to be a supply convoy that was scheduled to transit the valley within hours. "We need to warn base operations immediately," Williams decided. "If there's a convoy in the area, they're walking into a coordinated ambush." Johnson attempted to establish radio communication with base operations, but the terrain and distance made contact difficult. The mountainous environment interfered with radio signals, and their concealed position limited their ability to use directional antennas. "I can't get through to base," Johnson reported. "The terrain is blocking our signals, and we're too far from relay stations." Sarah studied the tactical situation developing before them. 3 enemy teams were positioning themselves for a coordinated attack on coalition supply convoys. Base operations was unaware of the immediate threat, and the reconnaissance team was too far away to provide effective warning through normal communication channels. "There's a convoy scheduled to enter this valley in approximately 2 hours, Sarah said, checking her mission timeline. "If we can't warn them, they'll be traveling directly into a coordinated ambush by professional enemy snipers." Williams considered their limited options. The team was outnumbered and outgunned by enemy forces that held superior tactical positions. Attempting to interfere directly with enemy operations would likely result in their own destruction without significantly impacting the threat to coalition forces. "Our primary mission is intelligence gathering," Williams reminded the team. "We need to get this information back to base so they can take appropriate action." But Sarah was analyzing the situation from a different perspective. Her intelligence training had taught her to think beyond immediate tactical considerations and consider strategic implications. The enemy operation represented months of planning and preparation that would be extremely difficult to duplicate. "Sergeant, if this attack succeeds, we lose more than just one convoy," Sarah explained. "The enemy will have demonstrated they can interdict our supply lines at will. It changes the entire operational environment and gives them strategic advantages that will last far beyond today." Williams understood the implications, but he also recognized the limitations of their current situation. "Lieutenant, we're one reconnaissance team against 3 professional sniper teams in prepared positions. What exactly are you suggesting?" Sarah continued her observation of the enemy positions while considering tactical options that went far beyond normal intelligence operations. Her grandfather's training had emphasized that sometimes the best intelligence officer was the one who could transition from analysis to direct action when circumstances demanded it. The enemy teams are positioned for mutual support, but they're also separated by significant distances, Sarah observed. If one position came under effective fire, the others might not be able to provide immediate assistance. Davis looked at Sarah with new interest. "Ma'am, are you suggesting we engage enemy forces directly?" Sarah was quiet for several minutes, studying the enemy positions through her scope and calculating distances, sight lines, and tactical possibilities. Her rifle case contained equipment that could be effective at the ranges involved, but engaging enemy snipers required skills that none of her teammates knew she possessed. "The closest position is about 300 meters, Sarah said finally. Manageable range for precision fire, but it would expose our location to the other teams." Williams was beginning to understand that his intelligence officer might have capabilities he had never suspected. Lieutenant, what's your actual experience with long-range precision shooting? Sarah faced a decision that would change how her teammates and her entire military career viewed her capabilities. She had spent years concealing her advanced marksmanship skills, but the current situation might require her to reveal abilities that went far beyond standard expectations for intelligence personnel. My grandfather trained me from childhood, Sarah replied carefully. I've maintained proficiency throughout my military service. It was still an understatement, but it opened the door to tactical possibilities that had not existed minutes earlier. Corporal Davis, who served as the team's designated marksman, looked at Sarah's rifle case with new understanding. That's not a standard intelligence officer's weapon system, Davis observed. What kind of capabilities are we talking about? Sarah unlocked her rifle case and began assembling her precision rifle system. The weapon that emerged was clearly the product of extensive customization and professional-grade modifications. Her teammates watched with growing amazement as she efficiently configured a sniper system that rivaled anything in their inventory. I qualify expert marksman annually, Sarah said as she adjusted her scope settings. My personal best is consistent hits at 800 meters. Williams stared at the transformed intelligence officer who was revealing skills that completely changed their tactical options. Why didn't this show up in your personnel file? Because I never saw the need to advertise it, Sarah replied, completing her rifle setup. Until now, the enemy positions were still preparing for their planned ambush, unaware that a coalition sniper was now studying their locations and calculating engagement possibilities. Sarah's reconnaissance mission was about to become something entirely different, and her teammates were beginning to realize they had significantly underestimated the quiet intelligence officer who preferred to work behind a computer screen. The tactical situation was evolving rapidly, and Sarah was preparing to reveal capabilities that would surprise everyone, including the enemy snipers who had no idea they were about to face someone whose skills far exceeded what her rank and position suggested. #Intelligence Officer Story. Part 4. Sarah completed the assembly of her precision rifle system with movements that demonstrated years of practice and professional training. Her teammates watched in stunned silence as the quiet intelligence officer transformed into someone they had never suspected existed. The weapon in her hands was clearly the result of extensive customization and represented capabilities far beyond anything in her official personnel file. Sergeant Williams found himself reassessing everything he thought he knew about Lieutenant Shun. Ma'am, I need to understand what we're dealing with here. What exactly are your qualifications? Sarah attached her bipod and began adjusting her scope for the current tactical environment. Advanced marksmanship instructor certification, competitive shooting experience, and about 15 years of training under my grandfather who was a Marine Corps sniper instructor. The revelation changed the entire dynamic of their situation. What had been an intelligence-gathering mission with limited tactical options was now a potential direct action operation with someone who possessed skills that none of them had anticipated. Corporal Davis studied Sarah's rifle setup with professional interest. Lieutenant, that scope setup and those modifications represent serious money and expertise. This isn't hobby-level equipment. No, it isn't, Sarah confirmed as she began range calculations for the enemy positions they had identified. I've been preparing for this type of situation my entire career, even though I never expected to face it. Private Johnson continued monitoring enemy communications while processing the dramatic change in their mission capabilities. Ma'am, the chatter is increasing. They're definitely preparing for immediate action against our convoy. Sarah used her spotting scope to conduct a final assessment of the 3 enemy positions, calculating ranges, wind conditions, and engagement sequences. Her intelligence training combined with advanced marksmanship skills was providing tactical options that went far beyond conventional responses. The nearest position is 280 meters, Sarah reported. The second position is approximately 420 meters, and the furthest is just over 500 meters, all within engagement range under current conditions. Williams was struggling to adjust his tactical thinking to accommodate Sarah's unexpected capabilities. Lieutenant, Engaging 3 professional sniper teams is far beyond what we planned for this mission. Sarah continued her calculations while considering the broader implications of their situation. Sergeant, that convoy is carrying supplies for 3 forward bases. If the enemy succeeds in demonstrating they can interdict our supply lines, it affects operations across the entire sector. The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. Enemy forces were preparing for coordinated attacks that would significantly impact coalition operations, while the reconnaissance team was too far from base to provide effective warning through normal communication channels. The enemy's timeline is accelerating, Johnson reported. I'm hearing references to final positions and standby for target acquisition. Whatever they're planning is happening soon. Sarah made her decision. The intelligence mission had revealed a threat that required immediate action, and she possessed capabilities that could potentially neutralize that threat before it materialized. I can take the shots, Sarah announced quietly. The ranges are manageable, the wind conditions are acceptable, and the tactical advantage of surprise will be significant. Davis looked at the distances involved and the complexity of engaging multiple targets in prepared positions. Ma'am, even with your qualifications, engaging 3 separate sniper teams sequentially is extremely challenging. Once you take the first shot, the others will know your position. Sarah had already considered the tactical challenges involved. The key is speed and accuracy. If I can neutralize the first position quickly and transition to the second before they can effectively respond, it becomes manageable. Williams faced a command decision that went far beyond normal reconnaissance mission parameters. Authorizing direct engagement with enemy forces based on the unexpected capabilities of an intelligence officer represented significant risk and responsibility. Lieutenant, if you miss, or if there are more enemy personnel than we've identified, we'll be facing overwhelming opposition in terrain that favors their positions. Sarah completed her final preparations and settled into a stable shooting position that utilized the natural terrain for concealment and support. Sergeant, I don't miss. It was a statement delivered with quiet confidence that convinced Williams more than any amount of discussion about qualifications or experience. The transformation of Lieutenant Chun from desk-bound intelligence officer to precision marksman was complete, and her teammates were beginning to understand they were witnessing something exceptional. What do you need from us? Williams asked, accepting the tactical reality of their situation. Sarah adjusted her scope settings for the specific environmental conditions and began her final target assessment. Overwatch and communication support. Once I engage, the tactical situation changes completely. Be prepared for immediate extraction if additional enemy forces respond. The first target was the enemy sniper team positioned at the shortest range. Through her scope, Sarah could see 2 individuals in a prepared hide that provided excellent concealment from ground-level observation, but was vulnerable to fire from elevated positions. Sarah's breathing settled into the rhythm her grandfather had taught her decades earlier. Every aspect of her training and preparation focused on the critical moments ahead. The enemy snipers had no awareness that they were being observed by someone whose capabilities far exceeded their expectations. Target acquired, Sarah whispered. Range 280 meters. Wind negligible. 2 enemy personnel in prepared position. Williams provided final authorization for engagement. You have clearance to engage enemy forces threatening coalition operations. Sarah's first shot was taken with the precision and calm that represented years of training and natural ability. The suppressed rifle produced minimal noise and flash, maintaining concealment while delivering devastating accuracy at extended range. The first enemy sniper was neutralized before his partner could understand what had happened. The transition to her second target demonstrated skills that amazed her teammates. Within seconds of the first shot, Sarah had acquired the second enemy position and was calculating the more challenging 400-meter engagement. Her movements were smooth and professional, showing no signs of stress or uncertainty. Target 2 acquired. Range 420 meters. Adjusting for elevation and distance. The second shot was equally precise, neutralizing the primary threat from the intermediate position before the enemy could respond effectively. Sarah's ability to engage multiple targets at different ranges with rapid transitions impressed even Corporal Davis, who had extensive experience with precision marksmanship. But the third position represented the greatest challenge. At over 500 meters and positioned with clear sight lines to Sarah's location, the engagement would test every aspect of her capabilities while exposing the team to immediate counterfire. Third target is the most dangerous, Sarah reported. They have better observation capabilities and longer-range weapons. Once I engage, they'll be able to identify our position. Williams coordinated with the rest of the team for immediate extraction procedures. Take the shot when you're ready. We'll be prepared to move as soon as you engage. Sarah's final target assessment required several minutes of careful observation. The enemy sniper team at the furthest position was more professional and better equipped than the others. Their hide was expertly constructed, and their equipment represented advanced capabilities that would make the engagement extremely challenging. Through her scope, Sarah could see the enemy sniper adjusting his weapon system and coordinating with observers using hand signals. The professionalism of their setup confirmed her assessment that these were not casual militants, but trained soldiers with extensive experience. Professional setup, Sarah reported. Advanced equipment and coordinated team procedures. This won't be as straightforward as the first two engagements. The distance involved was at the extreme edge of her effective range under field conditions. Wind factors became more significant at extended ranges, and the enemy's superior position provided them with tactical advantages that could not be ignored. Sarah settled into her final shooting position and began the mental preparations that would determine mission success or failure. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her memory, reminding her about patience, precision, and the importance of making the first shot count when facing experienced opponents. The enemy sniper was beginning to scan the area where Sarah's previous shots had originated. Time was running out, and the window for successful engagement was closing rapidly. Sarah would have one opportunity to neutralize the final threat before the enemy could bring their superior position and equipment to bear on her team's location. Final target acquired, Sarah whispered. Range 515 meters. Enemy sniper is beginning to search for our position. Taking the shot. #Intelligence Officer Story. Part 5. Sarah's final shot required every skill her grandfather had taught her and every hour of training she had completed throughout her military career. The range was extreme, the target was professional, and failure would expose her team to overwhelming enemy fire from a superior position. She controlled her breathing and settled into the shooting position that felt as natural as walking. Through her scope, the enemy sniper was clearly visible as he searched the terrain for the source of the previous shots. Sarah had one opportunity to neutralize him before he located her position and brought his advanced weapon system to bear. The shot broke cleanly, traveling over 500 meters through mountain air to find its target with devastating precision. The enemy sniper's search ended immediately, and the coordinated ambush that would have destroyed the coalition supply convoy was eliminated by an intelligence officer whose true capabilities had been hidden throughout her entire military career. Target neutralized, Sarah reported calmly, beginning immediate preparation for extraction. All three enemy sniper teams have been eliminated. The threat to convoy operations has been removed. Williams stared at Sarah in amazement as she quickly disassembled her rifle system and prepared for movement. The quiet desk officer had just demonstrated marksmanship capabilities that exceeded most specialized snipers, while maintaining the tactical composure of a seasoned combat veteran. "Outstanding shooting, ma'am," Corporal Davis said with genuine admiration. "I've never seen precision work like that under field conditions." Sarah secured her equipment and checked her team's readiness for immediate departure. The successful elimination of enemy sniper teams had neutralized the immediate threat, but their exposed position and the sound of gunfire would likely attract additional enemy forces to the area. "We need to extract immediately," Sarah announced. "There may be additional enemy personnel in the area, and our position is compromised. The convoy will be safe, but we need to reach friendly lines before enemy reinforcements arrive. The team began a rapid withdrawal through terrain that provided concealment from observation, while allowing them to move quickly toward their extraction point. Sarah's performance had completely changed how her teammates viewed her capabilities, but the mission was not complete until they returned safely to base with their intelligence. Private Johnson monitored enemy communication frequencies during their withdrawal, listening for signs that additional forces were responding to the engagement. I'm not hearing any coordinated response yet, but there are scattered communications that suggest they know something happened. The return journey required 4 hours of careful movement through hostile territory. Sarah's elimination of the enemy sniper teams had removed the immediate threat to coalition operations, but the area remained dangerous for a small reconnaissance team operating without support. During the withdrawal, Williams had time to process what he had witnessed. Lieutenant Chun had demonstrated capabilities that went far beyond her official qualifications, revealing skills that would have qualified her for specialized sniper units. Her ability to transition from intelligence analysis to precision marksmanship under combat conditions was exceptional. "Ma'am, I have to ask," Williams said during a rest halt. "Why haven't you pursued sniper training or special operations assignments? Your skills are clearly at that level." Sarah considered her response carefully. Throughout her career, she had deliberately avoided roles that would highlight her marksmanship abilities, preferring the analytical work of intelligence operations while maintaining her shooting skills as a personal interest. "I joined the military to serve, but I found that intelligence work suited my analytical nature," Sarah explained. "The shooting skills were always there, but I never saw them as my primary contribution until today." Davis shook his head in amazement. "Lieutenant, what you accomplished today will be talked about in sniper circles for years. 3 professional targets at ranges from 300 to over 500 meters, with rapid transitions and perfect accuracy under combat conditions." The team reached their extraction point without further enemy contact, confirming that Sarah's elimination of the sniper teams had prevented the enemy from coordinating an effective response. The coalition convoy that had been scheduled to transit the valley would complete its mission safely, unaware of the professional ambush that had been prepared for them. Base operations was stunned when Williams reported the results of their reconnaissance mission. What had begun as intelligence gathering to confirm enemy positions had resulted in the elimination of a coordinated threat by an officer whose capabilities had never been suspected. Colonel Martinez personally debriefed the team upon their return, struggling to understand how an intelligence officer had successfully engaged multiple enemy sniper teams in prepared positions. Sarah's official personnel file contained no indication of advanced marksmanship training or specialized combat experience. "Lieutenant Chun, I need to understand exactly what happened out there," Martinez said during the debrief. "According to Sergeant Williams, you engaged 3 separate enemy sniper teams at ranges exceeding 500 meters with complete success." Sarah provided a detailed account of the tactical situation and the engagement sequence, emphasizing the intelligence indicators that had revealed the enemy's coordinated plan. Her report focused on the analytical work that had made the mission possible rather than the marksmanship skills that had executed it. "Sir, the intelligence intercepts clearly indicated a coordinated ambush operation targeting our supply convoys," Sarah explained. "Once we confirmed the enemy positions and realized the immediate threat, tactical intervention became necessary to preserve mission-critical logistics operations." Martinez studied Sarah's personnel file and compared it with the mission results. The disconnect between her official qualifications and her demonstrated capabilities raised questions about how the military was identifying and utilizing specialized talents. "Lieutenant, your marksmanship scores during basic training were average. How do you explain the disparity between those results and today's performance?" Sarah had anticipated this question and prepared an honest answer that would satisfy command curiosity without revealing the full extent of her deliberately concealed capabilities. "Sir, I maintained proficiency through personal training and family instruction, but I never emphasized those skills in official evaluations. My focus was on intelligence operations, and I didn't see marksmanship as relevant to my assigned duties. Major Thompson, who had been skeptical of Sarah's tactical recommendations during the original briefing, was forced to reassess his evaluation of intelligence personnel capabilities. Lieutenant, your performance today prevented significant losses and demonstrated tactical abilities that we clearly failed to recognize. The mission's success had implications beyond the immediate threat elimination. Sarah's demonstration that intelligence officers could possess advanced combat capabilities challenged assumptions about personnel assignments and tactical planning. Captain Rodriguez, Sarah's immediate supervisor in the intelligence section, struggled to understand how he had worked with her for months without recognizing her exceptional abilities. Chun, if you had these capabilities, why didn't you request assignment to specialized units? Sarah's answer reflected the complex relationship between personal capabilities and military career management. Sir, I found intelligence work intellectually satisfying, and I believe my analytical skills were my primary contribution to mission success. Colonel Martinez made immediate decisions about Sarah's future assignments and responsibilities. Her demonstrated capabilities clearly exceeded her current position, and the base needed personnel who could function effectively in both intelligence and tactical roles. Lieutenant Chun, effective immediately, you're assigned additional duties as our counter-sniper specialist, Martinez announced. Your intelligence background, combined with your demonstrated marksmanship capabilities, makes you uniquely qualified for threats like the one you eliminated today. The assignment represented a significant change in Sarah's military career and recognition of capabilities she had kept hidden for years. Her teammates from the reconnaissance mission became advocates for her exceptional skills, ensuring that her performance would be recognized throughout the command structure. Sergeant Williams submitted a recommendation for Sarah to receive appropriate recognition for her actions, emphasizing that her intervention had prevented significant coalition casualties and protected critical supply operations. Ma'am, what you accomplished today saved lives and protected mission-critical operations, Williams told Sarah after the debriefing. You've earned the respect of every combat soldier on this base. Sarah's transformation from underestimated intelligence officer to recognized tactical asset was complete. Her grandfather's training and years of hidden preparation had been vindicated by a single mission that revealed capabilities her colleagues had never suspected. The quiet desk officer who preferred to work behind a computer screen had proven that sometimes the most valuable soldiers are those whose true abilities remain hidden until circumstances demand their revelation. Sarah's story would become legendary among the soldiers who served with her, demonstrating that exceptional capabilities can emerge from the most unexpected sources when duty and training converge in critical moments. Her journey from intelligence analyst to combat-proven sniper represented more than personal achievement. It highlighted the importance of recognizing and developing all talents within military organizations, ensuring that capabilities are available when they are needed most. Lieutenant Sarah Chun had finally revealed her true skills when enemy snipers appeared, and the results exceeded everyone's expectations, including her own.